Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast, the show that takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible.
Welcome to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. Hello, how's it going today? Hope you're having a wonderful day so far. I hope the sun is shining and you're in good spirits, despite everything going on around us right now. Today, I thought I would talk about procrastination because I feel like with everything going on, it's super easy to procrastinate right now. So I'm going to talk about procrastination, how to get over it during this time, but just as well, just in general, all these tips can go from any time, but I will target some specific things that can help you right now because we have a lot of distractions. And that is what procrastination is. There's different types of procrastination, but, when you think of procrastination, you think of basically avoiding your responsibilities because you either don't want to, you're distracted, there's other things going on. It's just clearly, not something that you want to be doing right at that moment for other different factors in your life. It could be anything. And I think right now we have the biggest distraction going on. There is so much change. There is so much just craziness and getting used to things and trying to adapt and absorb things and not get too worked up. Make sure we're taking care of our mental health and just taking care of ourselves. But a lot of people still have, work and school and things that they need to be doing right now. And definitely things that we are probably procrastinating just because of everything going on. You could also just be, wanting to use this time to get creative, do some writing. Maybe you just want to get it back into some exercise and stuff, but you're procrastinating that because of so many different reasons. So I'm going to go over today, just a little bit about, why do we procrastinate, and then kind of ways to get over those things, how we can target it during this time, and just try to get as much done as we can right now because a lot of us have time on our hands or, you just want to try to keep busy, to keep your sanity. I know a lot of people are just trying to find new hobbies, find new things to do, try to figure out their way around it. And so let's talk about procrastination and so that we can actually get those things done. We can try to beat procrastination and we can try to, better our lives during this time. And like I said, all of these tips, all these things that I'm going to be talking about will benefit you with procrastination later on when we're not going through a pandemic as well, but thought I would target both because I think a lot of us are feeling less motivated than we usually are, which is understandable, which is like what I really want to start off with is it's okay if you feel like you've been procrastinating a lot right now. It's okay if you don't feel like doing a bunch of different things, having that motivation to get stuff done, just having a hard time focusing. Like a lot of us are working from home, right? And so focusing from home, it's totally different, like you don't have your regular breaks and stuff like that. You don't have your regular space. Maybe you have to be in your bedroom. Maybe it's a loud house, things like that. You don't have all your resources and things around you. So it can be kind of difficult to focus right now. And so it makes it even easier just to procrastinate and put things along because you also probably see other things that need to be done in your house or the sun is shining and you want to go for a walk to, help your sanity again. So there's so many reasons why we could be procrastinating right now and be so distracted and that's okay. It's okay to procrastinate. There's different types of procrastination that could actually benefit some people, believe it or not. But most of it, when we think of procrastination, we think of basically avoiding our responsibilities, avoiding, things that we need to do for so many different reasons. We're distracted, we don't want to, we got other things going on, our mind's just not quite there, it's just not the time. So let's just jump into it. Procrastination happens in so many different aspects of our life. It's not just work, but like your social life, your health, big life decisions. Like some people can procrastinate when they feel sick, and you like kind of procrastinate going to the doctor because not many people enjoy going to the doctor. Let's be real here. So you kind of push that off and push it off, and then all of a sudden it can become a really big problem. And I've heard a lot of people, become really, really sick later on, and they could have stopped it earlier if they just went to the doctor. But we always procrastinate things that we just don't want to do, that make us feel uncomfortable, that's not very enjoyable. Going to the doctor and getting a full checkup is not the most enjoyable thing in our life. So of course we're going to kind of push those things to the side. There can be big life decisions that we can procrastinate as well. Like if you're thinking about going back to school, if you're thinking about finding a new job, if you're thinking about breaking up with a long-term relationship, something like that. It's like those are big life decisions that we kind of push to the side, mostly because maybe we're scared to make that decision and we want to be making the right decision. So we kind of just push it and push it and push it. But that's adding so much more stress. I can definitely procrastinate when I get into my moods of just like not as focused and motivated. I procrastinate, and then all of a sudden my like to-do list is giant, and I'm like, and that's when you get so overwhelmed because you're like, where do I even begin? But if you actually stay on top of things and you write things down and you stay on track, your stress levels can just drop so easily and so quickly. Procrastination is a lifelong trait. Unfortunately, that's what a researcher said, that procrastination is a lifelong trait, but it doesn't mean that you are completely doomed if you suffer from, if you're one person that procrastinates a lot. There's definitely ways that you can help and better yourself. Procrastination is a challenge that, I think we've all faced at one point in our lives, whether that's work, school, social, health life decisions. It's something that we've all kind of done because there's things in our lives that we just don't want to do. So of course we're going to be pushing them to the side until we absolutely have to do them. I know for students, like school and stuff, I feel like that's a really common, like when you're younger more too, I think, like high school and stuff, you just kind of push it away, and then it's like, okay, now I have to do this. And university, and if you go back to school, right, like if you're not just focused on school, especially if you're going to school, you're working, you have all these other things, it can be really easy to push things aside. With your work too, if you have a very, kind of self-motivated work where you just have to get your stuff done, for deadlines and stuff, you might procrastinate your other things. When we work as teams and we work as groups with friends and stuff, it makes it harder to procrastinate because you have other people relying on you. Unless your whole group is procrastinating, then yikes. And that could happen too, but a lot of the time procrastination comes when it's just our things that we need to be doing. We need to be focusing on something. So it's something that we all face for as long as as long as humans have been around. We've been struggling with just delaying, avoiding, procrastinating issues that matter to us. I think we procrastinate things that actually, we care about more often than things that we just don't really care about, because that stuff's just easy. We'll just get it done. But when we really care about something, or we want to do a good job, you kind of push it aside because maybe you're nervous, and I'm going to jump all into that. But it can come in any aspect of your life. And another thing that I want to add is procrastination. I was doing a bunch of research about this, and there's so many different articles and things being like, is procrastination the same as being lazy? And no, procrastination is not the same of being lazy. Procrastination can be often really confused with laziness, and I think laziness can have a role in procrastination for sure, but I don't think it's the same thing. I think they're very different. Procrastination is an active process. So you choose to do something else instead of the task that you know that you should be doing. Whether that's you're choosing to sleep instead of writing your paper, it's still you're choosing a different task that's active. Whereas laziness, you it's inactivity. It's unwillingness to act. Like, you don't want to do anything, and so maybe you're sleeping as well, but, you're kind of not really making that decision. You're not, like, thinking, okay, I'm going to do this instead of this. You're just kind of doing nothing. And laziness is okay too, but it is different than procrastination. I think being lazy or just having a lazy day obviously plays a role in procrastination. You're not going to get things done if you're sitting there having a lazy day, obviously, but they are different. So try not to, oh, I'm just lazy, I'm just not getting anything done. It's like, oh no, maybe you're actually procrastinating and you're kind of just saying you're being lazy. Or maybe you're being lazy and you're saying you're procrastinating. Either way, they're not the same thing. Okay? So when we get back, it's time for a little bit of a break, but when we get back, I'm going to jump into some 5 kind of main types of procrastination that we all do, and then how we can get ourselves out of that, stop doing it, just some tips and tricks to help you stop procrastinating and get as much done as possible. So stay tuned.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to GSMC Life and Happiness podcast. We're talking about procrastination. So let's jump into the kind of 5 main types of procrastination. I shouldn't say types, the 5 main reasons why we procrastinate. So number 1 is the task is just not urgent. So things that are later on down the road, like planning for retirement, maybe even breaking off with a relationship, going back to school. Like I said, those are big life decisions, but they're later on down the road maybe. We are wired as humans to consider, the needs of right now, the present, like what's in front of us, instead of things that are in the future. Because the present is right here, right now. So of course we're going to be paying more attention to that. So how to stop this is basically just by looking at the bigger picture instead of just little details. Think long-term of your life. So take a step back. What does this mean for your life? What is the big picture? I think like inspiration boards can really help with this, like where you want to go with this year. I know like retirement's even further, but like if you can plan out like long-term goals and stuff like that, that can stop you from procrastinating. I think making goals that have timelines on them, I think is really, really good. And it can, if you're really, really struggling with procrastination, I think putting timelines on your goals, on things that you just want to accomplish, whether it's from a year or 2 years, 5 years, 5 minutes from now, whatever it is, if you put timelines on it, I think it can kind of help you stay focused and on track. And if that's not enough for you, just to for me, having a mental timeline, I need to get this done by now, that's enough for me to want to get it done. But for some people, you might need to do a reward system or something like that. And I'm going to talk more about reward systems and consequences of procrastination, all of that too, but try to think of the bigger picture, try to look at your life in a different kind of light from a different standpoint, try to get the whole picture, and this is going to stop you from just focusing on what's maybe the present right now and focusing on more long-term things like planning for retirement or going back to school or whatever the case may be. Number 2 is we don't know how to start or what comes next. I think this is super, super common when it comes to school and projects, tests, or work things. We feel very overwhelmed when we don't know what we're doing. because we're just like disorganized, and like no one likes the feeling of not knowing what you're doing or not being, good at something, and it's hard sometimes to learn something new, especially if you're somebody that, can usually grasp onto things pretty quickly. You can kind of learn quickly, learn hands-on. If you're not able, if you don't really know what to do next, you don't know, what the next step may be, or you just don't know how to execute it, that can just stop you from doing it altogether. It's like, because it makes you kind of feel insecure that you don't know how to do that. You don't know what's next. So we kind of we don't. And I think this is more like, it's not even like, it's procrastination, but I think it's a lot of like an avoidance of negative emotion, because we don't want to feel like we can't do something or that we don't know how to do something. We don't want to feel stupid. We don't want to have to, a lot of people just don't even want to ask for help and things like that, because it makes you feel stupid or just not good about yourself. So you just don't ask for help, and you just don't start it, and you just, and then you procrastinate, and then you really stress yourself out, because it's like, I don't know how to do this, and now I have to do it in a very short timeline. So I think this one's more of like avoidance of that negative emotion, that we don't want to feel negative about ourselves for just not knowing how. So my tip to avoid this and get around this is just breaking it into little steps. Try to, if you don't know how to do something, what's the first step? And I mean, like, break it into little steps, like just simple little things. And then you can try to teach yourself or learn how you go. Of course, having a witness, having a friend to help you figure out the game plan. I think that's a huge thing. If this is something to do with school or work, maybe you can talk to your boss and say, look, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me like kind of map out a game plan of like where I should go, how I should be, etc. So breaking it into little steps, and then having somebody, having the courage to ask for help, and having them, maybe even help you break it into little steps. It's going to be a lot less overwhelming that way. Because we're trying to avoid that negative emotion. So we have to kind of get over that and just be able to teach ourselves to learn to ask for help without feeling like that's a bad thing. Number 3 is fear of failure. If you are a perfectionist, I bet you are also a procrastinator, because we blow things off just because, like if you're a perfectionist, I say that procrastination and perfectionist go hand in hand, because if you know that you're not going to be able to do something perfect, or you're scared that you won't be able to execute it the way that you want, you may just not do it at all. Because if you have that perfectionist attitude, like, I have to get this done, like, this has to be perfect, you're like, why would I even start if I don't know what I'm doing? Or, if you have this, like, very high standards of your performance, and you think that your performance defines your self-worth, this is going to make you completely stop in your tracks. This is going to make you completely procrastinate and take a huge step back and not do it at all, because you're scared of failing. So if you struggle with, that perfectionist attitude, which I think we all do in certain aspects of our lives, or certain ways, or just certain things, we've all kind of been like, I want this perfect. We have to like get over the fear of failure. We have to get over that perfectionist attitude, or else we're going to keep procrastinating and pushing it away. So for this, the only tip that I can really, really give you is get up and do it, and get up and start. And it's getting over that perfectionism, I think, first. Because once you can get over that perfectionism, I don't think you'll have this type of procrastination. So targeting your perfectionism and really trying to think of, why am I perfectionist? Like, why am I a perfectionist? What am I so scared of? And maybe break that down and reflect, why you're so scared of failing about this, and really kind of work through it with you. And if you're scared of, judgment, or it just not going well, and people are, getting a bad mark in school, or your boss not liking it, something like that, then that can really, affect your decisions of what you want to do. So I say take a step back and reflect on why you're so scared of this, and target that perfectionism. Number 4 is, actually some of us work better under pressure. So there's passive procrastination, and then there's active procrastination. So passive is what we usually think of when we think of procrastination. We think of, not wanting to do a task, it's not being urgent, we don't know where to start, we're distracted, like things like that. It's just what you would kind of think normally of procrastination. Whereas active procrastinations, you actually work better under pressure. You work better under short terms. So you choose to work under pressure because you know that you can get it done. You know you can do good quality work. So you might choose to start later. And if you are, an active procrastinator, I read a bunch of articles and research on this that if you are an active procrastinator, you can actually get so much done. If that's how you work under pressure and you can focus and do that, good for you, because they say that active procrastinators will be very successful and can get lots done and in lots of different times. And it seems like they have a lot on their plate all the time, but then they're able to bang it out and it's quality work. So, if you are an active procrastinator and that's working for you, well, I have no tip for that. But if you are struggling, with being a passive procrastinator, like most of us are, we got to stop the procrastination. We got to just get our stuff done when it gets assigned to us or when we know we should start doing it. But yeah, sometimes you just work better under pressure and that stops you from or that makes you procrastinate. But if you can pull through it and do quality work, good for you. I'm very jealous. And then number 5, I think, is just obvious. We just don't want to do it. It's hard. It's boring. We don't like the situation. We don't we just don't like it. We just don't want to do it. Of course, we're going to keep pushing off something that we don't want to do. It's like going to the doctor. We don't really like going to the doctor for a checkup, but we need to do it. So we kind of push it to the side, and eventually there's just, there's nothing that you can really do other than get it done in a short period of time now, which causes so much more stress. So I have a specific tip for this one. I have a whole, the Ivy Lee method that I think can really, really help, with just not wanting to do something, just wanting to avoid something that we don't like. So I'm going to get into the Ivy Lee method, right after the break. It's 5 very simple steps. I'm going to go through why it works. And once I started learning about the Ivy Lee method, I started doing it. And I'm honestly, during all of this pandemic and COVID and everything going on, it's really helped me stay on track and not procrastinate. So stay tuned for that. I think it's super beneficial.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Jump right into the Ivy Lee method. So number 1 it's 5 steps. It's very simple. So number 1 is at the end of each work day or school day, whatever you're doing, just your day, write down 6 most important things that you need to accomplish tomorrow. And do not write down more than 6 tasks, which is, for me, that's difficult. I usually will try to load my schedule, but it's very specific. Only write down 6 tasks that you have to do. Number 2 is prioritize those 6 things in order of their true importance. Very, what's the most important to the least important. So the number 3, when it comes to tomorrow, the next day, concentrate only on the first task. So the first task should be your most important. You should put the most important task at the very beginning of the day and focus only on that. As humans, we automatically try to multitask for everything. I know I definitely do. I always have a million projects on the go. But when you think of it, if you're putting your energy into 3 different projects, you're putting only parts of your energy into each of those projects. They're going to get done slower, and the quality of work isn't going to be as great as it should have been. So if you focus on one thing at a time, very difficult to do, I know, but if you can focus on one thing at a time, and you focus on your first task, and you get it done, and you move on to the next, and you get it done, and you move on to the next, it's amazing. It really is beneficial. It's hard to get on that, but once you do, I think it's a huge, huge help. Sorry. Okay, I went on a little tangent. Number 4, though, is approach the rest of your list in the same fashion, like I said. So then at the end of the day, if you have any unfinished items, you're going to move it to a new list of the 6 tasks for the following day. And the number 5 is repeat this process every single day or every single working day that you need to get things done. And I think the most crucial part is only writing down 6 things. Making sure you're only focusing on one task at a time, and putting them the most important to the least important. And then if you can get done those 6 tasks, then that's where you can, okay, now what do I need to do? And then you move on from there. But I think writing just 6 down, is super, super beneficial, and focusing only on one thing. So that's the Ivy Lee method. And I think it's just really simple. And so I think that's why it works so well as well. Like, it seems kind of silly, well, obviously, but just being specific with the 6 tasks and making the most important and all of that, I think it actually does wonders. It's easy to follow for people, so I think that's really why it works. It also forces you to make tough decisions and really think what's best for you. What do I need to get done tomorrow? And planning it the night before means that you wake up and you already know what you're going to do. So before your workday ends, just write your list, because that way you don't have to get up and kind of wander around, what am I going to do today? What am I going to start? Especially during, this pandemic and everything right now, the only things that we can control is waking up in the morning and doing our to-do list. What do we have to get done that day? And that's what you can control. And I think if you write your list the day before, you can wake up a little bit more motivated. You can wake up at a better time, and you're more motivated to get your list done. And that, I think, really helps our mental health and our sanity, just all of that, to focus on the present and focus on what you can control. So right now, try to focus on the Ivy Lee method of, stopping your procrastination, being motivated, and getting your stuff done. And it doesn't have to be work-related, school-related, whatever. It could be anything. I need to work out today. I need to meal prep today. I need to take my dog for a walk. I need to do this. And prioritize your list. It could be anything, but I really, really think it works. So I highly, highly suggest it. Another thing that is really beneficial when it comes to procrastination is make the rewards of taking action more immediate. So this is called temptation building. So if you put a behavior that is good for you in the long run with a behavior that feels good in the moment, it can really help you get your stuff done. So for example, if you really enjoy listening to podcasts and stuff like that you love, and you love listening to that stuff, or you love watching TV, do it while you're exercising. If you have a spin bike in your house or something like that. So your exercising is going to benefit you later on down the road that you want to focus on, but you love listening to your podcast. You kind of put the two together, and it makes your exercising more enjoyable. Or, only watch your favorite show while you're doing house chores, or while you're ironing, or, unloading the dishwasher, or cleaning, whatever that case may be. So try to pair it with something. It's called temptation building. So you can it makes it easier to do things that you don't want to do. And then the next one is make the consequences of procrastination more immediate. So I think my most common way to describe this, the best way to describe this, is exercise. So if you skip your workout tomorrow morning, it won't affect your life right away, right? It's just missing one workout. it's not going to be a huge drastic health change, right? But if you continue to skip your workouts for weeks on end, then that procrastination consequence will eventually catch up to you, right? And you'll know, why didn't I just start it 2 months ago? But if you plan to go for a workout with a friend at 7 a.m. and you skip that workout, then your consequence is immediate, because you feel like a jerk for canceling on your friend or not showing up, because your friend is also relying on you to be there, to get, gets their butt to the gym or gets their, exercising. So try to do, make your consequence more immediate. If you feel really crappy canceling on your friends, you gotta plan your workout with your friends so you don't cancel on them. It sounds kind of silly, but I really, really think it works. You're holding yourself accountable. They're holding you accountable. You're making that consequence more immediate, and you're going to be more likely to wake up at 7 a.m. and go for your workout. You can also do this thing called a commitment device. So this will help you really stick to your actions. So if you delete social media apps on your phone, you're going to spend less time on those social media apps, right? If you hide your TV in your closet and it's unplugged and it's super inconvenient to just turn on, you have to pick it up, put it in, plug it in, all that kind of stuff, you won't easily just turn it on and binge Netflix. If you want to save money, you can set up automatic transfers to a different account in your bank. So these are called commitment devices. So they can really help you stay on track with your goals. If you really want to stop watching so much TV, unplug it and put it away, so that, it's the effort of going in and picking it up, and that you're more aware of what you're doing, instead of just I'm just going to turn it on, and then all of a sudden you're 3 seasons into some silly Netflix series and you're hooked. So a commitment device, I think, can really go a long way, and I think it can help you long term if you're able to have that self-control to stick to it. I think for money especially, if you can set up that automatic transfer, well, you got no choice to put the money away. You set that up, and of course you can cancel automatic transfers, but I feel like once you set it, you got it, I feel like you're good to go. So try a commitment device. I think that really, really helps. And then visual cues can be really beneficial when it comes to procrastination. Put sticky notes on your mirror. Lay out your gym clothes. Set up things, put your book, when you wake up in the morning and you make your bed, put your book on your pillow, so that you remember, you visually see that when you go to bed tonight, you want to read for 30 minutes before bed. Things like that, that's a visual cue to remind you, oh yeah, I got to do that. Set reminders on your phone. I'm a huge reminder person on my phone. For me, it's like drinking water. I'll get reminders all day. Make sure you drink this much water by now. You should be drinking this much water by now. I'm like, oh crap, right. It's just my reminder that I need to keep up on those things. And then, of course, minimizing your distractions. Putting your phone away, put the TV away, and that's why, I want to talk about doing that during the pandemic, because for me, minimizing my distractions has always been I'll go to a coffee shop and I know I can focus on my work on my laptop sitting at a coffee shop, drinking a coffee, and I can go. I can put my headphones on. I'm not going to talk to anyone. I won't know anyone, so no one's going to bother me, and I can go. But right now, it's really hard to get away from our distractions. It's really hard to get away from our TV, from, scrolling through social media all day, from doing things around the house, for, all those kind of things. We can't really get away from things right now. We're kind of just stuck in doing our thing and stuck in our zone because we can't really get out of our house. So for this, I would really, really suggest, just during the pandemic, is focusing on your commitment devices, if you can, hiding the TV, deleting your social media apps, combined with the Ivy Lee method, which will really help you focus on what you can control that day. It's going to stop you from procrastinating things. It's going to help you just keep mentally healthy and happy, and I think keep a good routine, which is something that's really beneficial right now. If you're able to have a solid routine that you feel good about, and waking up at, the same time every day and doing those things, it really keeps you mentally just good and feeling good, and everything's just more beneficial. So try to really combine the Ivy Lee method with commitment devices, and I think that'll minimize your distractions as much as possible. So, right now you might not be able to, make the consequences of your procrastination more immediate. Maybe we can't go to the gym and work out with a friend right now. But there is things that we can still do, and having a commitment device, focusing on just what you can control that day. Write your to-do list every single night, and that just keeps your mind focused, and I think it keeps all the distractions away. You know you have to get these 6 tasks done in this order, and then you don't fall into that vortex of news and all those different things. So I hope this kind of helped you be motivated to try to get things done during all this time, and just try to focus on what you need to focus on, and focusing on the present. It just helps your mental health, like I've said a million times, but focus on the present, find your commitment device, and really kind of try to practice that Ivy Lee method. I think after a few days of it, you'll find it's such a difference just in your attitude, your work, all of that kind of stuff. All right, that is all the information I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. I'm so happy to be here and sharing information with you every single week. So stay tuned for the next episode that's going to be coming out. I love sharing them with you. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button, to like and follow us on social media, and leave a 5-star review. I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find the show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows. From the GSMC Podcast Network, from sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast.